What's up guys, welcome to a new video. Today we're talking about how to charge for videos. You probably don't recognize this setting. It's because I'm in a hotel room because I just came from a shoot with a client, so it's pretty fitting. Let's talk about how to charge for videos. Now, of course, first we have to say that the client doesn't just pay for the straight up work hours, but also for the equipment that you got and the time it took you to get there. Of course, you have to learn every job, but with filmmaking, it's kind of a never-ending process. And it probably took you really long to get to the point where you're at right now. For example, I wouldn't make the videos I make today if I hadn't made videos for the last 7 to 8 years and sacrificed a lot for that to get to the point where I am right now. And that's why most filmmakers and videographers actually charge way too less, and you shouldn't be afraid to charge what you're worth, which is way more than you think. Now, of course, we have 3 different stages of production. We have the pre-production, the production process where we actually shoot the video, and then the post-production. All 3 stages have to be taken into consideration when finding a price for a video. The client, of course, just sees you on set, which is just a third of the 3 stages, and also very often the stage that takes the least amount of time to produce. The client just sees you on set for a couple of days and then someday gets the final video, but he often doesn't know what went into before production and in the post-production after you shot it, which is the most amount of time that went into a production. Now, there are again 3 different ways that you can charge your video. You can do it with an hourly or a daily rate, you can do value-based pricing, or you could work for free if you want it as a reference for your portfolio, or maybe not work for free because that isn't the best thing. Maybe do it at a reduced price, or at least so that both parties benefit off of it. I often tend to go for a mixture between the hourly and daily based rate and the value-based price by combining these two, thinking for myself how many hours I would need for that and kind of roughly estimate it in my head, but don't tell the clients what my estimated hourly or daily rate would be, and then just give them one final price where they kind of know what they have to pay with everything included, with the shooting, the pre-production, the post-production, and the travel fees. Also, I include that, and of course the equipment, because I normally don't rent equipment for shoots but just use my own equipment. Speaking about equipment, if you have your own equipment and use it for a shoot, you should always include that in your hourly or daily rate or in your value-based price, in your total price, and not list it as a separate thing. Of course, you should include it on your production contract. I always just write which camera equipment and stuff I'm using, just so that the client knows what they're dealing with and not on the day of shooting are like, why aren't you bringing a RED? Just so we have that noted somewhere. But if you have to rent, for example, a RED or an Arri Alexa for a shoot, you should have that as a separate price point and always communicate to the client that, of course, the price will increase if they want to rent better equipment. Communication is key. Now, we already kind of touched the topic of travel costs. Speaking of gas, hotel rooms, even flights. Now, there are 2 different approaches again. You could list it as a separate thing and tell the client you spend this amount of money on the hotel room, this amount on the gas, and then just move that price point onto them for them to pay. They even could be responsible for looking up the hotel and booking it for you. But I'm not a big fan of that. I'll just include my travel fees in my production contract. Yes, I do list it as a separate price point, but I don't put a price tag behind it. I'll just write inclusive and then think about how much money it would cost me to stay there for a night, if that is necessary, or how much it costs to drive there, and then just include it in the whole price so that the client doesn't have to think about it. He knows it's on the contract, so he knows I'm responsible for getting there, staying there, and then leaving again. It's just there as a single point so that the client knows it's included in the whole price and that I'm not coming after the shoot charging thousands of dollars for additional travel fees. Then we have 2 different words for the pricing on a contract again. We have a quote and an estimate. A quote is a set price that will not change after the project, and an estimate is, of course, as the name states, just an estimate which can change after the project, up or down, depending on how much it actually costs. I also have a preference for this one. I always use quotes so that the client knows this is how much I will have to pay, and I will not have to pay more after the shoot. That's why it's okay to charge a little bit more, just so that you have that kind of room to move if things get a little bit more expensive than you first thought, and the client does not have to pay more after the shoot, just the set price that we agreed on before. Now, you still have to be careful with that. Sometimes, actually pretty often, the client comes up with new video ideas for separate new videos, or just things that would make the existing video even more hard to make. So this means if you estimate it for a video to be this and this hard to make, and you charge, like, for example, $4,000 for it, and suddenly they want to make this change and this change, and on the day of shooting they spontaneously think this person is here, we should interview her and we should make a separate video out of that, and we also have this car right here, we should film that and make a separate video out of that. That actually happened on this shoot, not that far off from reality. Not at all. So that's why you should always write down before what you're providing in a certain video, in a video production contract, so that the client can come afterwards and request this and this change or this and this separate video and not wanting to pay for it. If something like that happens and they want certain changes that exceed the number of revisions that you are giving them for free, which is in my case, I always offer 2 revisions for free with 1 work hour included for each revision round, so 2 work hours included. If they don't need it, it's fine. If they need it, it's included in the price. That's always in my production contract. But if they want more revisions, or if they request videos that weren't agreed on before, that you shot on the day, for example, or if they ask for an effect that is really hard to do and really time consuming and they didn't ask for it before, and it will exceed your planned budget, someone's gonna have to pay for it. So that's why in my production contract I always have this little quote that says any further changes that were not planned before and not written down in the plan of the video in the original production contract will be charged with a certain amount of money per hour. Like for example, $150 per hour for a shoot plus travel fees, because 1 hour, you know, then the travel fees wouldn't be included, or $150 per hour for editing, for example. You could also charge $1,000 per hour. I'm not judging. It's worth it sometimes. And that's already it from this video. I hope you got a little insight on how to price your videos, and you know how to price your videos now. If you enjoyed that video, please be sure to hit that like button and also consider subscribing for more videos on filmmaking right here on this channel. You can subscribe right here on this lamp, and you can watch more videos right here and right here in the window. And I will hopefully see you in the next video. Goodbye.